So look, welcome everybody to today's webinar. Fergal Coleman is my name. I'll be your host, and shortly I'll introduce you to Evan. Before I start, let me acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, and there's many lands today as we're all over the countryside on which we meet, and I'd like to just pay my respects to elders past and present. Very quickly, a little bit of housekeeping while we're waiting for a couple of more people to come in. So the format is, for anyone who hasn't been on these sessions before, we try and keep them pretty conversational. We've got a little bit of a presentation. Evan will open up his screen and show us some things on his platform. But we'll take questions as we go. We'll also have time for questions at the end. So please join in the conversation. Pop your questions into the Q&A or chat box. I've got Grace who's helping us today. Hi Grace, how are you?
Hi everyone.
So you'll filter the questions and we'll go from there. So very much a conversation. No question is a bad question, so please ask. The session has also been recorded, so and we generally put these up on YouTube afterwards. So if you have an issue with that, or if you ask a question that you want screened out, please let us know. In terms of the agenda, we'll do some introductions. I'll set the scene as well and just talk about a little bit about the project philosophy. Evan will talk about his roadmap, some of the business drivers, etc. And then we'll deep dive into some of the key things that are on the new Bendigo website and how they're working for the council, and also actually talk a little bit about stage 2, which is just about to kick off. So and as I said, we'll take questions as we go. A little bit about Symphony 3 very quickly for those of you who don't know us. We've been around the local government arena, I suppose, for the last 12 years or so. We've got a purpose-built SaaS platform that delivers everything from corporate websites to customer portals to executive dashboards, and then we obviously have deep integration tool sets that allow us to connect websites and portals to core council systems. Obviously, Bendigo is a client of ours. We've helped them roll out their new website, but very much a team effort. And very much led by Evan, actually, who we'll hear from today. In terms of our philosophy, we talk about simple, connected customer experiences. We really want, when we think of who the customer is, we often think of a young parent with a child who needs to be able to do every interaction with council on a mobile device, with a child hanging off their shoulder 24/7. And of course, we want to empower employees and councils as well to be able to do their job better. And I think that ties in very much with your philosophy, Evan. So without further ado, let me introduce you. Maybe give us a little bit about your background, Evan. Thanks very much for hopping on, and tell us how you've got to your current role.
Thanks, Fergal. Yeah, well, I've started in local government about 20 years ago in South Coast, New South Wales, in quite a small council. And back then, the web was solely IT responsibility. So my background was very much IT, and I was doing a lot of development work back then, looking after servers, just about everything at that point in time. And over the years, it gradually shifted more towards the communications area in local government. So I naturally kept moving my career over into the comms area and developed all sorts of other skills rather than just being a coder or a back-end server guy. I started doing a lot of work on writing for the web and training a range of web authors to get them up and running in different sites. I had a bit of a break from local government there and moved over to the private sector. Worked for a digital services company for a number of years as a service delivery manager. Still kept a close connection with the local government and other clients in different sectors, always in the web industry before I came down to Bendigo, and started to put a plan together to begin a transformation project to get to where we are now. And that's been quite a large piece of work that we've been working on over the last 3 years. And we've been working to launch the new site with Symphony 3 over the last 12 months.
Thanks, Evan. So you know both sides of the fence, I think, which is really quite valuable in keeping everybody honest. Yeah, that's a kind of a unique experience, I think, that you've got that we don't see too much of. So certainly been very useful for this project. If I keep going, we talk about a little bit about a shared vision. And I know when we first started talking, you joined some of these webinars. And I think we're pretty much aligned about, API enabled and API first. That's where councils have to go, and that's where council technology has to go. Would that be fair? And if so, how would you put that in your own words? How does that actually manifest itself or come to reality in your mind? Given that we're at stage 1 of your project, we're about to launch into stage 2, so we're not there yet.
Yeah, stage 1's been all about setting the foundations for where we want to go. And building on that connectivity with all of our systems that we've got. And councils have a huge range of different systems that need to talk to each other, and quite often there's barriers that are difficult to get through to reach that connectivity. So yeah, I think that's a good point.
Yeah, well, I think when we first started talking, I probably should have shown this a bit earlier, but we talked about getting to internet by default, and we talked very much about the private sector. And on the left-hand side, or the right-hand side there, you see Webjet as what we called an internet by default business, where, there's a single presentation layer out to the customer and employees, and everything else is connected by glue via APIs. So, there might be 100 or 500 systems sitting underneath a big organization, but the customer really should only see one. And of course, councils are going on that journey as well. I won't get into the detail of this, but you can see the middle layer there with arrows going everywhere. So you've got about, councils have probably 40 really important systems, and then a whole load of shadow IT systems, all of which need to be connected up if we're to achieve the vision. I think when we talk about internet by default, or when we were discussing it, we talked about delivering 3 key things, getting some integration and automation, which obviously leads to internal efficiencies and cost savings. Having a single presentation layer allows us to really improve on the citizen experience, and of course the employee experience, because I think today's employees expect to have kind of a similar digital experience internally. And then if we've got all these systems connected, we can obviously connect and collect the data and present it back to management via dashboards and graphs, so that they can make better decisions. So I think that's kind of the journey that we're on, and that you're on, and we're on with you, but we're certainly at the early stages of that. Would you agree?
Yeah, and like we've ticked the boxes in improving some consistency across all of our online services that we have. Yep. We've implemented a lot of changes with the look and feel, and I think that has helped with the trust of our customers.
Yeah.
Our old site and our old systems had a lot of different look and feels to them. So this process is really, the first stage has been really good for improving that consistency.
Yeah. So getting into the project then and getting started, look, probably a couple of things we talked about early doors that are some of the principles. obviously collaboration and sharing, very important to us as a business. We use open source tools, but I think we've learned as much from you guys and some of the tools and some of the Drupal tools you already had. We've embedded back into our platform and vice versa. So I think collaboration is important. We'll discuss that. I'll get you to talk a little bit about the top tasks approach as well as we go through the session, and making it easy for customers to find what it is that they need to find and the most important things they need to find. The notion of agile and iteration and how we get that right. How do we continuously improve? And then we'll circle around and come back to this API first approach as we go through the conversation. So in terms of getting started, this is how did you get the business and the organization on the journey with you? Have you any tips or tricks in terms of kicking off this project and how you went about it?
We've done a lot of internal engagement across all of our business units, and just really raising awareness of, we have a very small team at the city. We have one web developer, we have myself in the communications team, and we've got a few graphic designers there as well. Yeah. One of the risks we identified quite early was that myself and our web developers' time was largely being spent on maintaining what we had and making sure our Drupal software was up to date and working all of the time. So there was very little time for us to do any development or do any improvements with our website or any of the services that we have. So we used those risks, and then we went out and engaged with all the different business units. We took in their ideas and formulated what we were after. Yeah, and we used that to build on the user research that we'd done before around what our customers were looking for, what was the key information that they were viewing on our website, and put it all together.
Yeah, I think one of the things you did effectively as well, I know we had Louise, who might be on this call, help us with the design, but it was your team originally who put together the design concepts, and I think that gave them good buy-in as a team, and probably hopefully some pride in what's been delivered as the end outcome. I think, to my mind, that was quite helpful as well.
Yeah, our designers were really happy to be involved with the process, and they didn't have digital design backgrounds for web. They largely print designers, but they were able to pivot really well and come up with a huge amount of different ideas and designs, and got us to where we needed to get in the end.
That's right. And I think the other thing is, I mean, you're pretty good with the online tools, but in these workshops, we reverted back to, well, I won't say old school, but reasonably old school. We had the butcher's paper out, we had the post-it notes out. We were card sorting in the old-fashioned way. Do you think the tactile approach is still relevant to people in terms of getting in a room and just sorting through these things and getting ideas down on paper?
Yeah, that approach was fantastic with our staff. Got a lot of great feedback from everyone that attended the workshops. That it was easy to get in, it was easy for them to be involved. They didn't have to have the distraction of their laptop or any device in front of them, and they could just get their point across and have a say in the direction we wanted to go.
Right. Final question on kind of getting started in the project. Project champion for, if there might be people on the call who are looking to get a budget together or looking to redo their website or have ideas around digital. Have you got any advice on kind of a project sponsor, how to go about it, etc.?
Our project was sponsored by a communications manager here at the city, and yeah, it was very well backed from that point of view, and very well supported from our CEO and upper management.
And am I right to think that you reported back up regularly and you gave it, you get good visibility on the progress, both good and bad, I guess, in the project, what was happening well, what was falling behind, etc.
Yeah, we were feeding back weekly updates of where we're going all the way through, and yeah, setting realistic expectations across the project.
Yeah. I think before we dive in, one of the things that I've learned a lot from you about it is, getting the simple things right and the basic things right. Most people just want to get into to get the information they want. As the owners of assets, I think sometimes we really want to have things look almost fancy with with the bells and the whistles. But I think simplicity has been one of your driving kind of factors here. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of simple interfaces that doesn't have anything that's unnecessary get in the way of finding information or achieving the task that you want to do. And from our workshops that we ran with staff, which built on our user research, one of the big things that come out of it was our old site had these huge banner images right at the top of every page.
Yeah.
And those banner images would push all the important content down below the first fold considerably. So that was a really key thing to take out of our workshops was no one was really keen on those big banner images that we had on the old site. So
Yeah.
we simplified things down a lot there.
And just the simplicity. I mean, finding things I think was important. You're big on culling information and maintaining the information that you've got as well.
Yeah. Yeah, the old site was about 7 years old. So that was another big driver is to reduce that clutter.
Yeah.
And yeah, by getting rid of the clutter, it also helped in the findability of all of our content.
Yeah. Well, let's jump in. I'm happy to hand over to you now. While you're doing that, the starting point for simplicity, I think, was just language.
Yep.
And a lot of people, a lot of smaller councils don't have massive budgets, but just simplifying language can make a huge difference as well, can't it?
Yeah, looking at your reading grades make a big difference, particularly where of that high traffic areas of your site that relate to your top tasks that people want to do. That was our focus area for the project was those key top tasks were the main ones where we spent most of our time working on and finding how the content was presented, and how the language was on those pages.
So just for the uninitiated, what grade should we be trying to write to?
We aim for trying to hit the lower secondary levels, so sort of around year 8, year 9. But it's not achievable on all of our content.
You know where I'm going with this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of it we
How
need
do you
to.
get engineers to write for grade 7 or grade 8 even?
Yeah, well, we try and look at our target audiences for those pages, and yeah, some of it stays a bit high, and particularly with the council reports and particular departments. So yeah, I'll just share my screen.
Yeah, off you go.
And do you want me to run through those heat maps first?
Yeah, I think let's talk about the heat maps. I'm interested to ask you about your top tasks as well, and how you decided on the top tasks and how you're measuring those top tasks is of interest as well.
Right, I'll share that one. Okay. All right. So bear with me. It's a small laptop screen I'm presenting off, but this is our homepage and our top taskbar across here. So the way we come up with these top tasks, we did a lot of analysis over what people were searching for originally and traffic to different pages within the site. And discussing it with staff and their community. So No real surprises here with some of them. We've got our paying your rates, our bins, parking, our planning permits. Our fire prevention's one that comes and goes seasonally, and a more general make a request button here. So that was how we started measuring it, working it out to start with. And since we've gone live, I've attached a number of events click events to these through Google Tag Manager, so we can track the use of these buttons on the home page, and we can adjust them seasonally according to what people are looking for, or what we need to promote and get up in prime real estate on our homepage. So I'll just jump over to a tool that we use here. We use a tool called Monsito to do some content governance work, which does a whole heap of stuff. But one of the features is just the basic heat maps, and I'm just going to show the desktop of the homepage. We don't quite have enough data yet for the mobile heat maps to really show a lot, but you'll see, and I'll just move across here, a high concentration of activity around the main menu area. Scroll down a bit. Really high concentration of activity on the search function, and the search function was very important to us for it to work well and have a lot of advanced features. And then another area of high activity in the middle section of this top taskbar. So the bins, the parking, the planning permits, and fire prevention's only recently come on board, so that's got a smaller amount of activity across that one.
And it looks like people either don't want to pay their rates or they've already all paid their rates.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. There's a lot of channels for them to pay rates, so yeah, perhaps it's not needed as an icon at the homepage all the time. So maybe more around installment dates. And as I go down the homepage on this desktop hotspot, if I can get the scrolling work, we can see activity around our latest news area of the site. Our online GIS mapping solution, and it dives off a bit towards the end. So, yeah, I think the activity, particularly around the search and our top taskbar, it's good to see, and it validates some of the decisions that we made in the design for how we laid that out.
In terms of the top tasks, and I know you're going to show us, I think, another heat map in a second, but one of the decisions that was made was also to put the top tasks in the drop down menus.
Yep. So
have you got any data on that, or have you had much feedback on that? Do you think and how do you change it around and decide what goes in there seasonally when you start getting down into certain sections of the site?
Yeah. So for our menu system, we've also included a secondary level of top tasks, where I'm actually working on the reporting around that at the moment. So it's I've only got basic stats on it, and I haven't put it into a proper report yet. So, but what we look at is in our reporting on each section of the site, we look at traffic over time, and then we promote the actual tasks that relate to the content, instead of promoting, say, a page name. So you'll see update my address is a key task, and that reflects in our reporting that one of the major requests that people submit to us is updating their address details or contact details at the city. Okay. So I'll just jump over to an inner page as an example. This bin night page is the top task and the most visited page other than the home page on the website. Previously, we never had a specific bin night page. We had our waste pages. We had pages for every type of bin that we have. But by looking at our search data, there was so many searches for bin night and bin collection using those terms that we decided to make it its own separate page. And it's had a huge amount of traffic since we've gone live. We can scroll down a bit here. We can see a high amount of activity on this page index of what we've got. These are just anchor links that jump down to different parts of the page. And that activity is around what day has my bin collected and the collection calendars. So that's the main purpose of this page. A lot of activity around what days my bin is collected, where we've got a search function for people to put in their address and pick up when their bin's going to be collected. And again, a lot of activity around the actual downloads of the collection calendars for people to print out and put on their fridge.
Great. So you're constantly looking at this data. You're reordering even on the pages themselves. You can reorder. The content to bring things further up the page, etc. And then validate some of these decisions around with the data you've got, I'm guessing. So a couple of other things we wanted to do. So findability was obviously a big thing for Evan. He's talked about top tasks and enabling people to to find the information with top tasks. Another tool that we put together was the service finder, which is still a work in progress to a certain degree. But we saw this on, I think it was the Marybeck website. And it really makes it easy again for people to find some of those key services that they want to find. And as you see, I'll put in certain things, and we've got, I guess, predictive text in there that it can tell us and narrow down the services we want to get to. So we think that's a nice little feature. We'd like to say that we came up with it, but we'll give kudos to the guys at Marybeck for that. Grace, we have a few questions coming through, I think. Do we this stage?
Yeah, they're just in the chat, Fergal. A question from Steve.
Okay, great. Good question, Steve. So where do you think the average council is on their digital journey compared to Bendigo? Well, this is stage one of the Bendigo redevelopment of their website. Stage two, which we'll hopefully get to with Evan if we get him back, Steve, is around integration and APIs. The starting point of that is to build out a customer portal that will talk to potentially their ERP system. It'll allow people to log in, lodge requests. When they log in, they'll see information relative to what's happening around them in their location. When they're on, if they've got pets, we'll be able to capture that information and give them information on when their pet registration is due. So I think Bendigo and I think Evan has done an outstanding job in getting his digital presence easy to use, simple, and quite intuitive. I think we will start building. We as he said, we've got the foundations now to start building a more sophisticated technology that uses APIs to bring information from third-party systems. So I don't know that they're a huge way along, further along than other councils. I think what they've done so far, however, has been very, very impressive. Hopefully that answers your question. Did we have any more that I've missed, Grace?
A few more in the Q&A section.
Yeah, right. Okay. Was the key learning from the project from Tom? But that must be done well in the early stages to ensure success. Great question, Tom. I think planning is really important. So I think Evan had a real clear vision of, and he still does, of where he wants to go. I think he's stepped it out really well. So we've got stage one and stage two. We're not trying to boil the ocean with too many ideas. We're trying to do the basics well and quickly, get them, and then iterate as we go. I think he's taken the business and the organization on the journey with him. So those workshops, he ran, everybody was invited across the whole organization. I know that he sat down and spent a lot of time talking to customer service to actually understand what people were looking for on the telephone, and how we could start addressing some of those questions via the website. I think the collaboration has been quite good, actually, in terms of how he's directed us as the service provider. Good question from Mike Lewicki. I was interested to know what Evan's approach was in regards to either forcing mandatory registration in order to use the website functions, or allowing anonymous usage. We're just at that stage, Mike, with stage 2. It won't be a mandatory registration necessarily. So, for example, I'm just about to build a Near Me function. And the Near Me function will be available to people who are anonymous to put in an address or a location and get information beside them. But if they register on the portal, when they log in, that Near Me functionality will be a little bit more advanced. They'll also be able to subscribe to newsletters and things like that and get information pushed towards them. So very much the philosophy, I'm speaking for myself as much as Evan here, but is that you've got to give people the option. I think people will register, the people register for all kinds of other businesses and organizations in different sectors, but they've got to see value in it as well. So I think, if you give value, people will register, and if you make their lives easier, they'll register. So I've showed you the service finder. I think the other thing that was really important here is search. As Evan had alluded to, it's front and center and widely used on the homepage. I think most councils are doing that now as well. We've got things like predicting what people want. So, we call it best bets. That I think that makes a real big difference as well for people to be able to get to what they want to see. We've got things like did you mean in there, so that we can pick up on synonyms and things like that. So if people put in waste, we know that it's bins, for example. If they put in misspellings, we can pick up the misspellings. So if you have a look at the search, you'll see that it's lightning quick. It's also pretty accurate. And I think that's a major opportunity for a lot of councils to improve on their search. We've seen quite basic search on a lot of council websites. We'll also narrow down some of the searches to types of documents. So if people are doing a deep search and want to get to, annual reports and things like that, it'll allow them to choose between pages and documents. So Evan, I'm speaking for him again, but I think he wants to make it really easy for people to get to the information they want quickly and conveniently, and he will strip out anything else that's superfluous to that. No problem. So since you've been gone, we've talked a little bit about our research report. I've delved in a little bit to the service finder and just said, look, we really like the service finder that we had at that Merribeck had, and we've kind of used that as I guess inspiration. And I think the important point there is really that, I don't think you've got a monopoly on ideas. It's about finding the best things out there and collaborating with people and working with people.
Yep.
And then finally, I was just getting into the search function and the importance of that for you, so I might get you to just describe search yourself and give us an idea of your thoughts on it.
Okay.
Your screen should be enabled again.
Yeah, I haven't got any windows open now, so nothing's preloaded. Everything's gone.
All right.
No
problem.
Yeah, one of the with our search function before, and I think would be pretty standard across most local government websites is about 5% of your traffic uses your internal site search. A huge percentage is coming in via their search engine referrals, so from their Google searches and getting to the pages they need to. But it's still important to have that search function in there that's working really well and it's well tuned. A focus for me was getting a really solid autocomplete function working and tuning that autocomplete function so that it would work for a whole range of different things that people were searching for. So before we went live with the new site, I went through around 250 of the top searches, internal site searches, and made sure that they were all tuned for the autocomplete and for the search results.
Yeah. And it's working pretty well, is my understanding. You know, it's very. I mean, we've helped you do it, so I don't want to be giving ourselves bouquets, but it's very fast search, isn't it? And you're actually fine tuning it with things like synonyms and things like that all the time.
Yeah, I keep a close eye on our Google Analytics search terms and make adjustments as we need to with those. But yeah, it's nice and fast. And one of the great features we've put in with the autocomplete is it takes you straight to the page you're looking for. So it doesn't take the user to a page of search results. So it eliminates an extra step that they need to take to get to the page they need to go to.
Right. We had a question and I answered it on your behalf, but I think it's only fair in the interest of transparency to get your own view on it. It was from Mike at Colac. He just asked a question around mandatory registration versus allowing anonymous usage. I took the liberty, and I guess I should preface what I said. I said, in my view, you got to give people the option. They can do one or the other. And if you've got to give them real value if they're going to register. But interested in your take on it in your own words.
Yeah, well, I share that that view actually. Like I think it needs to be optional because not everyone will want to sign up. But if you can deliver really good value for signing up and being able to manage preferences or being able to customize or personalize the user's experience, then that's where the benefits start to shine through.
Yeah. Got another question that's come through, Evan, which was, were you always on Drupal? So did you consider any other CMS? Now, I know you probably didn't say it. I know you're well versed in some other CMSs, but interested on your take on CMSs.
We did consider other CMSs. Our staff skills in here were with Drupal, and that utilising our current staff skills was involved in the decision in staying with Drupal. But we did look at quite a few other options and sort of compared the different benefits around it, whether we were paying for some sort of product or sticking with the open source software.
Yeah. I've lost my train of thought now, so forget where we're at and where we're going next. But I'm going to jump to jump to stage 2 and forms, and I know that's the first part of what we're doing next. Where do you see it going? What's the importance of forms? How do you get online forms right? You know, where's your thinking at with that?
Because we have so many online forms, it's very difficult. We've got a lot of work to do in this stage to consolidate what we can and work through the questions we're asking in those forms to try and reduce them somewhat and simplify what we're putting in there, but still getting the information we need. It's getting that information into our internal systems, reducing the high cost of our staff manually data entering things is a big success measure for us moving forward into this stage. Yeah, and a lot of the forms that we have haven't been easy to find or know what the purpose is for. So really clarifying what the purpose of each of those forms are so that we can get people to the right one quicker.
I think the other discussion we've had it with other councils, and we do it with some of our non-council clients, is around consolidating forms and actually using the some of the ability that you have in forms to to build decision trees to allow people to get to information that much quicker.
Yeah, I think the decision trees are a great tool, and we've done some experimenting and prototyping of them so far.
Yeah.
One of the examples was for our waste disposal guide. So prompting a user through the process of working out how they dispose of different types of waste. So prompting them with a question, asking them what type of waste they've got to dispose, whether that's plastic or hard waste or something else, and then providing them options through to the end goal, and then reusing content that we've got within the site that provides the information of what they need to do.
I think the other point is that we've discussed this, and I guess it's our philosophy as well, but the notion of sharing forms, like councils deliver the same services. So there is the opportunity to for people to share the forms and at least share templates for different services as forms, and then they can go and change them themselves. And I think that's one of the important things we see about Drupal, that it's not just about open source code, but it's almost about it's open standards, but it's also about having an open mindset and being prepared to share and learn from others. I don't know, is that purist? Is that me being a purist? Does that suit me? Or like from a council perspective, what's your thoughts on that?
I think it's great, like, to be able to have those different range of forms available to share, even if it's not exactly what your business needs. It gives you a starting base to build off, and speeds up that process of getting that form live.
Yeah. Next stage is obviously stage 2, where we're talking, and we've talked a little bit about APIs at the outset. APIs is obviously, you got to have systems that have APIs and that can talk to each other, and I think that can be a challenge in councils. But also, I suppose this stage will start to encroach more into other departments and further down some of the steps in services. What do you see as the challenges, and how do you overcome those challenges of people wanting to protect their domains, etc.?
Yeah, the challenge is always your buy-in, and getting people on board for that change process. So we're talking about significant change in the way that units do their business, trying to improve it, obviously. But yeah, we're facing challenges at the moment. We're working through them. So we're having lots of discussions and mapping out our way forward, I guess.
In terms of prototyping, I know we've discussed it, we haven't really started prototyping as such. What's your views on doing rapid prototypes? What are the pros and what are the cons do you see in that approach in a council context?
It proves out what we're trying to achieve a lot of the time with rapidly getting something or minimal viable product out there to be able to see. A lot of the time, if we can demonstrate something or show something, it helps with that buy-in.
Yeah, and I think we're aligned on that one.
Yeah.
Was there anything else, Evan? I know that we've both kind of probably been weren't expecting you to drop out. Was there anything else you wanted to discuss or talk about before we? I'm just mindful we're at 1:20. We've got 10 minutes. I'll open it up to questions afterwards. Was there anything else that you think is important from stage one of this project, or what, you know, if you summarized, or you were to summarize this project, you know, what are the takeaways? What are the key takeaways that anyone listening today who's maybe about to embark on a similar process should consider and take away?
Look, the stage one was kind of about being ruthless with the content that we had. We did most of it ourselves with the resources that we had. We did some outsourcing for content writing. We were able to, within our own teams, do a lot of the content restructure and writing and auditing to cull all of that unnecessary information that had accumulated over time. So that was a really good outcome from the project, reducing the amount of content we had. Collaborate often within the organisation. So during the whole project, I was running around the organisation like mad, visiting all the different departments and working through and resolving all the challenges we had to streamline our user flows and the content that we had on the site.
Great. Okay. Well, look, I might open it up to questions at this stage. I want to thank you for hopping on. I want to thank you for getting back on a second time. I'm sure you had to scramble there. What we might do, Evan, is as we wait for questions to come through, but maybe we'll get through stage two and try and get you back at a later stage and hopefully have an uninterrupted discussion. I think what you've shown us today or discussed with us today has been massively valuable anyway. But what I might do is just open it up for any questions that people might have.
Yep.
Evan, do you have any expectations as to how long your phase two will take?
Where phase two is going to be an ongoing piece of work. So initially, the whole project we're planning on working on it over 4 years. So stage two is about putting the basics in place so that we can continually work on that portal part of the site and hopefully do that over the next 4 years. But there's a lot of systems here, so it will take a while.
The other thing, Evan, is, you know, your systems change, but also you get a lot of personnel changing. So how do you keep consistent to the vision and the roadmap? You know, what are the challenges in there? How do you maintain course?
Yeah, we've had a lot of change actually over even this part of the project. It hasn't been too bad so far. But you obviously need to bring everyone back on board when personnel change, and yeah, it's an ongoing storytelling process for me.
Yeah. What I might talk about are some of the upcoming activities we've got for people. So in 2023, we did a survey actually of local governments from around the countryside based on their, I think it was 25 or 30 questions on local government websites. In, I think it was September, we produced a report on the state of local government websites across the country. Some good data in there, some good reading. So anyone who hasn't seen that and would like a copy of it, please give us a yell, and we'll happily give you the report to read. In 2024, we'll redo the survey. It's going to be probably a wider survey around, you know, more holistic digital transformation. We're going to circulate that in late January when everyone's back from the summer holidays. So if you'd like to be involved and you'd like to send us to send you an email, please give us your email address, or just indicate in the chat bot there that you'd like us to keep in touch with you, so you can have your say. Again, once we collate that information and data, we'll produce a report, hopefully in around March, April. Yeah, keen to have as many people as possible participate in the 2024 survey. We've just had a message from Alicia, who's looking for our survey. Absolutely, Alicia. Thank you for your interest. Thanks for joining. I think we might leave it at that, Evan. I want to say thanks again. Hopefully we'll get you back. Look forward to working on stage 2, which we've just started. Yeah, look forward to maybe reporting on the progress later in 2024 and see where we've got to.
Great. Thanks for having me on.
And look, thank you to everybody for joining us. Apologies for the technical glitches today. Not much we can do. It happens. Hopefully you still got a lot of value out of it. Anyone who wants to report or any information or even any of the slides, send us a message, and we'll go from there. So thank you very much.